Hey guys, Jason here, and welcome to the Abyss Garage. And today's video is a very important one for me. Just to give a brief explanation of where I've been the last few months. You know, I've had a couple videos that I've shot, and I haven't even bothered to edit them or post them because I feel like it's kind of pointless doing a patch panel on my truck and some other stuff. So a couple months ago, my wife and I welcomed our first child to the world, and couldn't be happier, you know, being a first-time father, which is awesome. Unfortunately, I'd say a couple weeks after, you know, having her born into the world, my father ended up passing away from his battle with cancer. So there's been, between both those things going on in my life, I just have not had really much of the desire to come out and work in the garage, especially right now since it's freezing. So I just come home from work and I basically just want to be with her, you know, just the family itself. So today's video, it's for my dad. He asked me to make him an urn. So today we're going to make him an urn, and he was very specific on what he wanted. I shouldn't say so specific, but he was specific enough. So he wanted me to make him a Shovelhead urn. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to show you guys what we have working with so far. And, you know, I kind of feel like in a lot of videos I do, I take quite a bit of footage or just filming, and I really chop it down to try and maybe so much not bore you guys, but keep you guys' attention for a longer amount of time. Especially how everyone is today with, you know, need all the information right away. So I think today's video, I'm gonna dive into this a little bit longer, a little bit deeper, just show you guys everything we're doing, because I haven't done anything like this before. But you know, I figure, you know, why not give you know, a lot of detail here. So with that being said, let's get started, and let me show you what I'm working with here. All right, so just want to go over this, what we're working with here for you guys. So just want to give a really big shout out, big thank you to Richie at Manx Cycles. He is a relatively local shop to me. I'm always stopping there after work. It's kind of like a honey hole for some. The place is kind of crazy itself, just for the amount of parts itself that you can find in there, whether it's usable or not. And so there's always, I think it's cool when you, there's always a story to things, because it just, it makes it gives character. So, you know, I went in there, I told him what I wanted to do, and he went downstairs into the basement and found a cylinder. I got a rear cylinder. And I went upstairs on the first floor. He's got like a ladder that goes straight up. So you got to climb up this ladder, and then it's like like one of those library style ladders that you see. So you go straight up, and then you got to swing over, and then get up top on this plateau. And there's just a ton of parts. There's shelving, there's wheels, exhaust systems, everything, and there's filing cabinets. And there's this cylinder head. He's telling me there's cylinder heads in the filing cabinet. So I'm going through, I'm opening up these drawers, find a bunch of iron head, cylinder heads, and then I find the one shovel head, cylinder head in there, which was like amazing. And this is a rear cylinder head as well, which is awesome. So we're keeping things the same. We're not mix mashing. Not that it probably really matters, but to me it does. And the beauty is this cylinder head has seen better days. It looks like perhaps maybe a valve had dropped, and we had some issues because it's all chewed up. And we have a weld repair on the cylinder head by the bolt hole for the exhaust. So this is perfect for what I want to use it for. I think my dad would approve of it as well. So I think what we're going to do, we definitely need to figure out a way to plug the intake and exhaust ports. And I think the way I'm going to do it is I picked up some flat bar, just aluminum flat bar itself. So we're going to definitely use this and get a piece cut out to fill in for the push rods, because I will not be using push rod tubes or anything like that. for the urn itself. I'm going to try to keep this relatively clean and simple. So we're going to weld up that. I may put just a fitting in for the oil, and I believe in the box of parts I have a rocker shafts to use. Otherwise I could figure that out as well. And then the same thing, I'm hoping perhaps I'll be able to use the flat stock itself. The intake will definitely work. The exhaust may be close to fitting. If not, I can always weld up two pieces and then blend it together and then weld it. The other thought process was maybe to use part of a old exhaust system by cutting it and then doing it that way. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm just winging this as we go. But you know, I wanted to show you guys what we're working with here, and you know, we'll get started and get to it. All right, so I got the plates, if you'll call them, drilled out now. Most of them drilled straight through onto the drill press. However, the exhaust port one, it's such a large diameter in comparison to the plate. That flat stock that I had was only able to cut through on half of it. That's why I had to use the porter band on the other half and just simply cut it away. Now, so I've chipped away at that, and now I have, I would say, not a perfect circle, if you'll say. So I took a bolt that was almost identical in size of the hole that was used for the hole saw, put a spacer that I had kicking around along with a nut. So I'm going to go ahead and chuck this up in the lathe itself and just simply turn it down so it's smooth and, you know, as perfectly round as possible itself. So that way I have the easiest time welding it up. So this isn't necessarily necessary to use the lathe in this case. I could just simply keep working around with a flap disc to get a like an okay circle, but you know what, I have the equipment, so I might as well use it. All right, so we are at the point now where I need to make my marks and drill out my block off plate that I've made here. So taken plate steel that I have, used it against a base gasket, and to get my marks, I cut it down on the porter band, which you guys saw in that clip here. So what I've done here is used a C-clamp to hold it in place for an extra set of hands, and again, use the gasket here. I'm holding it down with a set of magnets, so the idea is it doesn't move. But we're going to try to transfer punch these 4 holes and then get these drilled out. All right, so here we are now, the next problem in the line here. And so I decided I wanted to pull, I had to change one of the studs because it's a short stud, and the rocker box I have, you need to have a long stud on the end. Not a big deal. I ended up finding that a couple of the studs were actually bent, so just going to replace them. This guy is stuck in here. It will not come out. I've tried heat, I've tried lubricant, I've tried everything. I do not want to break this off, so we're going to use discretion and let it be the better part of valor. However, I do have one thread repair I have to do here. This hole is stripped itself. Now, I would have been cheaper to go the helicoil route. I ponied up and bought a time cert kit. It's a 3/8 by 16. Thread repair, I know it's an Urn, but if I keep messing around with shovel heads, I'm probably going to have to undoubtedly do a thread repair on the head at some point. So just buy now, cry now, and be done with it. Plus, I don't want to have to hear about it from my father at some point and be like, hey, you jackass, why don't you put a time cert in there? Am I not worth a time cert? So with that being said, we're going to crack out the, get the drill out, and repair this thread and keep moving forward so I can, again, get this sandblasted.
Doing crazy dreaming.
right, guys, so we are at the next step with this base of the urn, and that's going to be applying a protective coat. And for that, I'm going to be staining the base, and I'm going to be using the Miniwax Golden Pecan 245 stain. Just need a small can for this. We're not doing a lot here, obviously. And I think the Golden Pecan's a nice color. I had a drop-off piece of the base from the miter saw, so I was able to save that. And basically mimicked what the base I wanted to look like. So that's how I set the router up and so forth and so on. But here we have two light coats quickly of that Golden Pecan applied to the base. So I know exactly what this is going to look like. And in comparison, you have this and then you have this. So I still have the clear packing tape on here using as a protector. But to give you guys an idea of what the difference is, it's pretty, I would say, night and day. And the reason why I went with this Golden Pecan color is I've noticed a lot of times on urns or things that I guess are related to that, usually they use a real, the wood itself is a real dark wood, or it's rich and deep in color. So I wanted to do something similar like that, and that's why I went with that stain. Now again, for me, when you're looking at this urn, I want the Shovelhead top end of the engine to be the focal point, and rightfully so, but I want your eyes to be drawn into that base later on, and then really see that there's more to it than just a piece of wood, that there's multiple pieces of wood that were used, so forth and so on. If there's a particular grain pattern that sticks out for your eye to catch onto. And I feel like if it was just left natural, or if I stained it clear, it would stand out too much and your eyes would be drawn to the base first and then that top end. So that's why I went with that. And so now we're just going to go ahead again. We're going to get that packing tape off. We'll get it stained and keep moving along here. So just wanted to give you guys like an explanation as to why I did a certain thing a certain way. All right, so I got great news. I got a phone call right before lunchtime at work, and it was the powder coater telling me that the stuff was sandblasted and powder coated and I could come pick it up. So we're going to get this out of this milk crate here and show you guys exactly what we had done and keep moving along. I think if my dad was still around, he would say this urn is badass. And I would agree with him. I think this thing came out absolutely wonderful. I think, you know, working with the used parts adds character. It's seasoned, if you'll say. Starting from the rocker box down, you know, polishing that up was a great choice. Brass hardware on the rocker shafts themselves ties in wonderfully with the brass nameplate that I had made for them. The sandblasted head looks great. I sanded the fins down, and I think that is a nice pop in itself against the sandblast, you know, the rest of the head. I wouldn't have done it any differently with the powder coat. That satin textured black, I think, pulls off the look. And then the wood base itself, using multi-layers, using the stain that I did, and then as well with the clear that I put on there afterwards, I really think it absolutely looks killer. You know, using stainless nuts and washers on the for the rocker box. So I went with stainless with that. You guys saw me using the nickel plating process for the studs, and then for the head bolts, and then the nuts themselves for the base. So I think overall, this thing looks killer. Like I said, I'm absolutely thrilled, and so would he. But you know, I gotta say, like, I could talk for hours, but I'll try to sum it up as quick as possible. My father was a great man. He did everything for me. You know, making a phone call, I need help, you know, with the house, it didn't matter. He was always there. Loved my wife dearly. Loved me dearly. You know, so like he was, he had two careers, I would say, really. Beginning and end, he was a carpenter, construction worker, if you'll say. He could build you a house. He helped me with this house. It's like crazy. You know, I'd be like, Dad, it's like masonry work. All right, I know how to do it. You got to, you know, frame out something. All right, I know how to do that. Oh, we got to fix what the previous owner did. Okay, I can do that. Electrical wasn't his forte, so I left that out for him. But you know, it's like roofing, shingles, doesn't matter. He knew how to do it. The vinyl siding. I mean, it's pretty crazy when to be that knowledgeable and that far of a spectrum, if you'll say. But you know, that's to me is crazy. But it's also like in the late 80s to mid 90s, he was a helicopter mechanic. He had his airframe and power plant license and A&P license. So, you know, during Desert Storm, he was over in Saudi Arabia, I think Kuwait. I'll have to drop some pictures. I know I do have a picture of him over there. But, you know, he worked on Apaches, Hueys, Blackhawks. If I'm not mistaken, I remember being in the hangar in Germany. There was a Cobra as well. So, you know, being a young kid, he would sneak me in legally. he would sneak me into the hangar. So I used to sit in the helicopters, which is awesome. It's why I have a love for, I guess, airplanes and helicopters in general, you know, when you're a kid. But, I mean, the man was a gearhead, you know, from, you know, muscle cars, with the motorcycles, you know, taking me dirt biking, you know, when I was like a teenager, like every weekend during the summers. So, you know, he raised me right, in my opinion. You know, so this is the least I could do for him. But anyways, I don't want to carry on too much about it because I could, like I said, I could probably make a podcast on it itself and all the crazy stories. But I really enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you guys do. We'll be back again, and we're gonna keep motoring along here. So, you know, with that being said, I'll see you guys around. Take care.